Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something, something pretty much everyone has faced. That incredibly awkward moment when you forget someone's name, maybe right after meeting them, or maybe even worse, when you know you've met them before.
Oh, absolutely. That momentary panic. It's a classic social hurdle. And our source material today, it's this great little dialogue, just everyday English that captures this exact situation perfectly.
Right. And our goal here isn't just, listing vocabulary. We want to dig into the practical side. How can you actually handle these moments with, a bit of grace, maybe even some humor?
Exactly. We're looking at a conversation between two people, Nick and Anna Ferris. They met at a conference, apparently.
Okay.
And now Nick bumps into her again, and the name's gone.
I've been there.
We're going to see how just a few simple phrases used the right way can really smooth things over.
So let's dive into that scenario. Nick sees Anna. He remembers the conference. He's trying to be smooth.
Yeah, making conversation.
But you can just feel that dawning horror as he realizes. Her name has, quote, just slipped my mind. We've all felt that exact feeling, haven't we?
We really have. But what's really interesting right off the bat is Anna's reaction.
Okay, what does she do?
She doesn't let him squirm. She immediately says something like, don't worry about it. It happens to me all the time.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It really is. It's not just being nice. It's like a social masterstroke,
Yeah.
It instantly says, hey, you're normal. This happens. It diffuses everything.
Yeah, it normalizes it completely. It takes the pressure off both of them, probably.
Exactly. It allows them to just move on from the awkwardness. It's like this little offering of empathy.
Creates instant common ground. Okay, so speaking of the language used to handle this, after Nick confesses, he tries to wrap things up politely. He says he's in a bit of a hurry and offers his card. Let's break that phrase down.
Yeah.
In a bit of a hurry.
Right. It's such a useful phrase, isn't it? It basically means you don't have much time. You need to move quickly.
But it sounds softer than just, I have to go.
Precisely. It's polite. It's not abrupt. You might say, sorry, can't talk now. I'm in a bit of a hurry. Or maybe at work, I'm in a bit of a hurry, so I'll look at those files later.
So in Nick's case, it's like a polite escape hatch.
Exactly. A graceful exit. He's not like running away screaming from the awkwardness. He just has somewhere to be. It's a very standard, very useful social code.
Okay. And then, as part of this exit, he asks her, you still have my contact details, right? Now, contact details, that sounds pretty straightforward.
It is on the surface. It means your name, number, email.
Yeah.
The info someone needs to get in touch with you, often what's on a business card.
Right.
But the way it's used often implies something slightly more maybe professional, or at least not super casual. You wouldn't usually ask your best friend for their contact details if you're just meeting for coffee, would you?
No, you just say your number or something.
Exactly. So it subtly signals networking or following up after a meeting. It shows you value the connection enough to want to maintain it properly.
Got it. Now let's go back to that moment of confession. The actual phrase Nick uses, her name slipped my mind. Why is that phrasing so, effective?
Slipped my mind. It's great, isn't it? It's not just saying I forgot. It's gentler.
Gentler how?
It implies it was accidental, unintentional, like it just sort of floated away, rather than you actively not bothering to remember. It softens the blow.
So it takes away any implication of carelessness, maybe.
Exactly. It suggests the person wasn't forgotten, just the name. It allows both people to save face a bit. You hear it all the time, right? Oh, sorry, I didn't reply. It just slipped my mind. Or the classic, oh, no, your birthday. It completely slipped my mind.
Okay, that makes sense. It signals accidental lapse, not you weren't important enough.
Precisely. It invites empathy, makes recovering from the blunder much easier.
So we've covered the recovery and the exit, but the dialogue also touches on just describing, where things are. Nick asks Anna, do you live around here? And she mentions her office is right around the corner. These around phrases seem simple, but there are nuances.
There really are. They're fundamental, but have slightly different flavors. Around here is generally in this vicinity nearby. Like you might ask a stranger, is there a good cafe around here?
Okay, general area.
Yeah. Then right around the corner usually means very close, literally just on the next street or very nearby. My place is right around the corner, super close.
Almost literal.
Often, yeah. And then around there is usually referring to a place that's maybe been mentioned before or is a bit further away, but still in a general zone. Like pointing on a map, I used to live around there, meaning near that specific area or city.
So different levels of precision for describing location. Useful stuff.
Very common, yeah.
And sticking with descriptions, but this time self-descriptions. After Nick forgets her name, Anna says, "I'm terrible with names, too." I have to say, I felt that one. I use that line all the time.
Yes, it's the universal get-out-of-jail-free card for bad memory, isn't it?
Totally. What's the magic in that phrase, terrible with?
Well, it literally means you're bad at something. Terrible with directions, terrible with numbers, terrible with faces.
Right.
But socially, its power is that it immediately normalizes Nick's mistake. It says, hey, me too. We're in the same boat. It dissolves embarrassment and builds this little moment of connection.
Like a shared vulnerability thing.
Kinda, yeah. It's a humble way to admit a common weakness without making a big drama out of it. It makes you relatable.
Okay, let's shift slightly. Anna's first greeting to Nick is just, "How's it going?" Simple,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it feels natural.
It really does.
Yeah.
And look, saying how are you or how are you doing is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with them at all.
Sure.
But how's it going often just sounds a little more casual, a bit more effortless in everyday chat. Especially, between people who aren't complete strangers or in a very formal setting. It's one of those tiny things that can make your English sound a bit more relaxed, more native-like.
Nice little fluency booster. Okay, so we've pulled apart the language, the social functions. But what about the actual real-life problem? When a name does slip your mind, our source had this great little story.
Oh, yeah, the uncle.
Right, forgetting your own uncle's name at a family reunion and resorting to just calling him uncle the whole time because the actual name was just gone.
It's funny, but also, wow, the pressure, and it shows how we find workarounds, doesn't it?
It does. But that uncle trick might not fly in a business meeting.
Probably not. So yeah, you need different strategies there. The source mentions a couple of really practical ones.
Like what?
Well, one classic is to just ask for their business card.
Simple.
Yeah, perfectly normal thing to do in a professional context, and bingo, the name's right there.
Clever. What's the other one?
Ask them to jot down their email address for you.
Because?
Because most people's email addresses include their full name, or at least enough of it to jog your memory. Again, it's a totally normal request. Can I just grab your email?
Yeah.
But it secretly gets you the info you need.
So these are like subtle retrieval methods. You're not directly admitting I forgot your name again.
Exactly. You're using standard social or business conventions to get the information discreetly.
Why is that indirectness sometimes better, especially in business?
Well, it's about saving face, both yours and theirs, potentially. Directly saying, I forgot your name, even if unintentional, can sometimes land as, you weren't memorable enough. It sounds harsh, but it can feel that way.
Right, the implication.
Yeah. These indirect methods let you bridge that gap in your memory without causing any potential awkwardness or, slight offense. It prioritizes keeping the interaction smooth, which is often really important in professional settings where you're trying to build rapport.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So whether it's knowing the subtle power of saying a name just slipped my mind, or how to politely signal you're in a bit of a hurry, or even just using those everyday around here phrases correctly. This whole deep dive really shows how much is packed into just, everyday chatter. These aren't just words. They're tools for navigating our social world.
Absolutely. And understanding these little nuances, these bits of social code, doesn't just make you a quote-unquote better communicator. It genuinely builds confidence. It gives you the tools to handle those slightly awkward moments much more smoothly.
Makes those mortifying moments feel a bit less terrifying.
Exactly. More manageable.
So here's something to think about. Given how incredibly common this whole name forgetting thing is, it happens constantly to everyone, what does that tell us? What does it reveal about how our memory works, maybe? Or about social pressures? Or even just about the sort of unspoken grace we tend to give each other in these little everyday fumbles?
That's a great question to ponder. The sheer universality of it is fascinating, isn't it?
Definitely something to chew on until our next deep dive.